When we got it.
Okay, I'll try it again.
Stay on the phone.
Okay.
We got
Ready
it.
to hang up. Feedback.
Okay, I'll try it again.
Stay on the phone.
Okay.
Ready to hang up. Feedback.
Doing that.
Okay, I'll try it again.
Sometimes when I go into my Civic, it'll show that there's nothing there, but then other times it will show that stuff is. You know that one time that problem. There's something in the should be
Ready to hang up.
go to the old link and me because it always works when I pull it up that way. Sometimes when I go into my Civic, it will show that there's in I have this other link that will work with it. Stuff is. You know that one time that problem. There's something in the should be
Ready to hang up.
go to the old link and me because it always works when I pull it up that way. Sometimes when I go into my Civic, it will show there's in I have this other link that will work with it. You know that one time that problem. There's something in the should be
Ready to hang up.
go to the old link and me because it always works when I pull it up that way. Sometimes when I go into my Civic, it will show there's in I have this other link that will work with it. There's something in the go to the old link and me because it always works when I pull it up that way. There's in I have this other link that will work with
Good.
More feedback loop.
Oh.
Hey. Are you recording? Are we good to go? What?
All right, we will begin the November 7th, 2022 City Council study session
Feedback loop.
with the Veterans Memorial Aquatic Center Annual Report.
Hey. Are you recording? Are we good to go?
Yeah, we're still getting some feedback.
We will begin the November 7th, 2022 study session with the Veterans Memorial Aquatic Center Annual Report here.
There's a delay.
Yes. From the. Are you recording? Are we good to go?
Yeah, we're still getting some feedback.
We will begin the November 7th, 2022 study session with the Veterans Memorial.
Going past self. Going past self.
Just give up.
Yeah.
Done. Quit. Grab him, run.
Should do.
Yeah.
Done.
Hurry up.
Quit.
But I was thinking too.
No, I was like, okay, should turn on battery. Grab him, run. Done.
I was thinking too.
No, I was like, okay, should turn on battery. Doug, told you that that trunk or treat was rigged. Supposed to be the Parks and Rec.
I think it was the scary
Hear
thing.
that, Michelle? Uh-huh. Yeah, I was confident they were gonna win. But he scared everybody though. That was it.
Good, yeah.
Told you that the trunk or treat was rigged. Supposed to be the Parks and Rec. But Keller, he nailed it though. So I think it was a silly string in the kids. Yeah,
This-
we were in between two like champions, but yeah, he's
Stepped up. Or-
absolutely, we have to.
Probably. Got it?
Right, Doug, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody. Doug Byland, partial. Veteran. Charge of the Aquatic Center. All the bragging. There. Down there. Down there.
Jason's getting his workout out tonight,
Just kidding.
getting some steps in.
Got awarded. Which is wonderful since we are five thinking larger aquatic facilities. Attendance than us for newer features. Facilities. So for our facility, for the age it is, we are. A lot of it here. Care about everyone's facility. Our facility, our family, and those. We try. Family. Safe. We're fully staffed, a lot of facilities. Here we did 34 lifeguards. 2017 and 150% increase in our instructors. Our LGIs are those that in our lifeguard. Certified. Also with the weekly lifeguard Friday. So I have 5 LGIs on my team. I have more coming back this year and hopefully getting more LGIs on our staff. You know, I go and talk to the kids about this and how important it is, and they want to do it. They want to be in charge. They want to take that leadership role, which is amazing since they are the ones that are training my other staff to be safe and putting our policies into place with water and making sure we don't have any drownings or any severe injuries at our facility. So they make it fun and, you know, they're taking a huge leadership role. Then we have 1 water safety instructor for swim lessons, and then we have 20 swim lesson instructors. When I first started, we had about 10 to 12, and it was hard to get them recruited on to be lesson instructors. But now we have 20, so it's increasing. The kids seem to be enjoying it. You can see in the picture, we even have posters, and they work together great as a team. And the kids love it. So at our facility, we value certifications and training. So trying to get as many kids as we can get their LGI, WSI, and keep up on their lifeguard training so that they are ready to make any rescues and understand what we need to do to make our facility better. Okay? They take ownership in our facility, so that's why they want to get educated. The idea that we are there, we take care of one another. If someone's sick, we text them. I mean, everyone down the line will text and say, hey, how are you doing? Or if someone can't come to work, we ask them, hey, you need a ride. We take care of one another. We have each other's back. And And it could be even with, if someone had a family death or a pet, we have that issued, then they will call, next they'll send them something. So they do very well at taking care of one another. It's just that value of we're a small family and we take care of one another. So we also network with other former guards that I used to work with when I was a manager. So for example, one of my managers this year is attending Iowa State and is looking into marine biology. Since they're going into marine biology, I connected them with a former lifeguard that is a marine biologist and is in Florida. So just making sure that taking care of everyone who are previous lifeguards and connecting them with those that we have today. And it's, again, that's what we do. We take care of each other. So we're a small family. Right in our facility, we try to keep it clean. We take honor in hearing great feedback from our community. We're doing wonderful in our swimming lessons. Or if our kid's going in for a save and then getting a kid out. I mean, we take a lot of pride in that, and we pat each other on the back for when we make those saves. We send out a text, say, hey, nice job today. I hear it by word, by mouth, or text, hey, so-and-so when made a save. I immediately text them, or I go down and tell them, nice job, I'm really proud of you. So it's, again, taking pride in our staff. Dedication, they put a lot of time and hours into our facility. Some kids are putting in more than 40 hours a week, especially when it comes to our high school kids that are attending college for the first time. We'll get down to probably about 20 kids at the end of season who are putting in more than 40 hours a week because they're taking on other people's hours for us to be open to the community, because we value in staying open for everyone. We want as many people to come into our doors and enjoy it. We enjoy their smiling faces, having fun, talking to them, seeing them swim. I mean, that's the highlight to our job. Veterans Memorial Aquatic Center. Communication, we do a lot of communication. We communicate via Textcaster out to the community, Facebook. We do it on the phone system. They can call us as well. Then our staff, we also do a lot of texting. Oh, that's key. And collaboration, working together. I would say, like, my favorite part about the season is not that when the last day, it's sad we have to close, but I get about 15, 20 of my lifeguards and operational staff, and we do the cardboard boat races. And then once the event is over, we all come together, we eat pizza, we drink some pop, and then we start cleaning the place up. We get all the chairs put away. It's just so nice. And then we talk about what we enjoyed this season together. Again, it's just like a little reunion at the end. Powwow, clean up everything together really quick. And then we talk. And then it's the last day, saddest day, but it's also the one I enjoy the most because we have some really good memories over the summer. So community gathering place, we do cardboard boat races. Iowa Realty is our sponsor for that. We had over 20 boats in it this last year. We also do the Be a Hero pool party, which we partner up with a lot of different other individuals in our community. So the police department, fire department, Mercy One comes down on their helicopter and lands. We have our veterans. They will serve up hot dogs and chips, and Hy-Vee provides the chips. And then veterans from the Legion 165 are the ones that prepare the hot dogs. And then we also have mermaids and superheroes there. But the goal is everyone to see that we have all these wonderful be a heroes in our community. And we want our kids to foster that idea that they want to be a hero someday like them. They want to be a good role model and help out others and see that and be around that. So it's just a fun, large party. We have celebrated the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years, roughly. And then also we do Splash and Story Time, Public Library. So we collaborate with them, and Janice Omer, she comes in once in June and once in July, and we get about a little bit over 100. Otherwise, our Be a Hero pool party brings in over 500 individuals, and we get, for the cardboard boat races, over 100. Open Swim, we've had 27,249 admissions this year, up 7% from 2021. It's up 12% since 2017. Our season passes have increased 32% to 1,860, which is wonderful. means more are utilizing our facility and coming. Again, Be a Hero Pool Party, we get over 500 attendees, and public safety, veterans, princesses, mermaids, and superheroes. And then it kind of tells you, again, what I highlighted in the previous slide, that we have Iowa Realty for the boat races and 100 spectators, 25 boats this year, and 6 realtors helping out with that. Flash and story time, over 200 young children and their parents attending that. Programming, we do swim instruction. So swimming lessons, we value. The more kids we can get in the facility to learn how to swim, the more safe our community will be at in the water. Just the daily advice on what to do when you're near the water, how to swim, just giving them those valuable skills. Again, our lifeguard training, we do it every Friday during the season when we're open. And we work on CPR, AED, bloodborne pathogens. We do emergency action plans. So active and passive drownings, certain scanning protocols and emergency situations around the pool deck. We've even contacted the EMS and they've come down from here down to our facility and they've talked to our lifeguards as well. So it's nice to show that we're working together, not just at our facility, but we're also working with the Neola Fire Department and EMS. And then we have adult wellness. We have water aerobics. And we had 25 attend almost twice a week every time. We also started adult swim lessons in August. We heard from a few other parents that they want to learn how to swim because their kids are way better swimmers. And so we looked and I was able to speak with my WSI and another lifeguard instructor, and they were able to put in 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks for the adult swim lessons. And we had 6 people. So that's wonderful. Splash and ton splash time. Parents love coming with their littles and just having the top pool to themselves. Quiet, sometimes, except for when we have splash and story time, that's really loud. Kind of depends on the day if it's really hot and humid, but they really value that top pool. And then they don't have to worry about the kid getting into the larger pool because we have enough maintaining that one area with lifeguard supervision. 25-year-old facility, yes, and we continue to serve today. That's why when we got first place this year in Central Iowa on our facility, and we're 25 years old, that's amazing because we're competing against larger and much nicer and newer facilities than ours. But I think a lot of it has to do with maintaining our facility, making sure everyone understands that it's safe and that our staff are always alert and that also we welcome them there. So I think there's 3 things that play into why our facility got voted as People's Choice this year. So one thing we need to do is, or this year we actually did some concrete repair, the water supply repair, sand filter media replacement because that was needed, 0 depth gutter and sealant repair over in the larger area. You can see in the photo over there. And then the interior pool lights. We are in the process of still getting that continued fixed. We're almost done. So, but it's something, you know, we love our facility, we love our community, and we value teaching our kids the safety, water safety, and getting more and more individuals into our facilities. So, you know, we really care about it. So we want to keep it going as much as possible.
Do you remember how much money was raised privately?
I'd have to do some research, sorry.
I know it was significant because we sold bricks and
Yeah. We could look it up. I know where the folder is.
I would be interested. I know it was a significant amount. Wasn't good thing. You've done a nice job with me.
That we're looking for this year budget on pool fees. So we know this isn't gonna last forever. Bigger lot. Different.
In the past, there were some concerns with some of the areas of the concrete. Does it seem by staying on top of the maintenance, we've been able to keep that.
Fingers every
Yes,
spring.
every spring and also every fall. So I mean, it doesn't come to surprise in the spring when we go out there that we'll have some other areas that we'll need to get taken care of.
Feelings are,
Exactly. Water.
Good to see the numbers are right too, because I remember looking at 15, 16, 17, we were talking. Surge. And so it's that needs to be cycling back around. Yeah. no kidding.
Really good job, Afton.
Staffing. What about Keith?
Great job on Facebook. Happy.
Need to be aware because we love our facility and we love our families coming in. So that's number one.
You guys have any large improvements for 2023 that you're?
There's a couple in there, right ones. Finishing up those lights right now, probably the biggest one.
they're in your capital improvement.
I don't remember them off the top of my head.
There's several actually items that I have in my head, but I want to make sure we get the ones that is in the next. Or this.
The first part was concrete repairs. We've already done some of that this fall already. The safety pad replacement around the lily pads
They just arrived.
came on
So,
Friday and the 3 inches of.
yes, that was fun.
Working on those lights still, need a new ice machine, or, we need to clean and do some pressure washing on the large spray feature. Metal pipe, so on. And other spray features that just atmosphere there isn't very good. Skim and so on and so forth. So a lot of those are cleaning those things and cleaning our pumps every year, trying to pipe that goes down into the water that sits in the water all the time. Our technology is 25 years old. I don't know cars aren't around anymore, so it requires a little bit more maintenance than happens at the Y. Come anytime we need to do a tour, as you can see, but 3 gigantic filters and you guys don't have 3 gigantic. Our pools. They're just things, yeah. We're just trying to keep up on that, keep it so we can get that in.
Exactly.
Appreciate you doing the study. That's good.
I was thinking that when this was built, discussion, actually before that, open it. The issue would be was that I thought it was only like a 25 to 30-year
is.
facility at that time. So we are at that point now.
We are. So that's why we're looking into the feasibility.
Good plan.
You guys drain the pool every year?
Mhm.
The freeze, you just took some of it out or?
It's all
It
gone.
has to be all gone.
Ready for this week when it's 17 degrees at night.
Yeah.
New water there.
Today sounds like a good
Yes,
weather.
it's all drained and empty and
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Non Indianola Public Library Annual Report. Brian,
And Gwen is having a little bit of a hard time hearing the council.
speak up. Me either. There's first for everything, John. You can't come back on telling John and I. to speak up. So,
What would we do without my? And Jason. My name is Michelle Patrick, Director of the Indianola Public Library. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to present the annual report. And it really is my pleasure. We've had a great year at the library, and I know many before you, I sort of look like a library director, but this is what I feel like inside this cute guy dancing. First of all, record over 154,000 items checked out. That is more than we've ever had in the libraries. So, and what's really promising, I think, about this is when you look to pinpoint, there's not a specific area that is driving that circulation, with just a couple of exceptions across the board. We We have just under 8,000 library card holders, and those are active card holders, people who've used their card in the last couple of years. When we break those down into different age groups, 47% of all library card holders are under the age of 40. And the biggest, we have everybody you can see there has pretty well representative. People in their 30s, the most number of library cards at our library. That's certainly not the case across all libraries, but it is ours. And then in addition, those in their 20s are right behind them. So those in their 30s and 20s, those are 30% of the libraries. They have the most number of cards, they check out the most number of items, and they also go to the most number of programs. And I think that is a very big sign for the future of the library. Other good news, last year, record attendance at library programs. So you can see, looking at our history, starting in 2016, we were making some progress. COVID just knocked us out, just knocked us down, but we bounced back better than ever. Never had library program higher than last year. 89% of those folks are attending children and family programs. We count teens as a separate group, but if you want to count teens as kids, kind of in that middle, 96% of the people attending library programs are attending for kids. A couple things about our programming that's pretty interesting. We've made quite a few changes in recent years to the way we do programs. The family programs are, they're very fun. We do escape rooms and for families. So all the family comes in. We do Nerf nights, which is pretty fun. You got to watch out for the moms. The moms with the Nerf bows are the best. Mario Kart tournaments where you have kids against the parents and you can guess who wins those, but those kind of really family activities that people can come out and do for free. We are also out we're at every single elementary school. Christian, Strong Root, the middle school, the high school, most of the preschools, doing the programs out in the community. And one of the big changes that we very, very proud of is that we took existing resources already had, we adjusted that person's responsibilities to focus more on kids and families. And now we have consistent Saturday programming. This has been a long-term goal for us, wanting to reach those families who maybe can't come into the library during the normal times. We started those in the spring, and the hope was, we thought, well, we're going to start these, eventually it's going to catch. No, as soon as we opened the doors on Saturday morning, they were filled. So certainly a need was there, and we were able to help fill that. And we could do more. We certainly haven't saturated the market for library programs. One of our issues that we have is just honestly space. The library was built at a time when programs were different, or they didn't really have the prominence right now. Programming space was not built in. And so that is one of the things that limits us on our programming. Library's collection, over 180,000 items. You can see by far the digital items make up the collection. Libraries, to break it down specifically, the items in the building, 39,097 items in the building. There's clearly more than books. We have DVD, video games, puzzles, games, all kinds of things. Library's collection always hovers at 40,000. It was what we had 30 years ago, and it is what we want. The library expands, and it shifts. Certain collections grow, certain collections shrink depending on usage, but it always stays the same because it is a limit. And we purchase a certain number of items every year, and the number has to go. But it always stays the same. But here, I think this is the most interesting and perhaps the most surprising for a lot of folks. Even though we have all of those digital items, they just people, 77% of our circulation goes to that. Really, those physical things in the library. And that's often really surprising for folks because it really doesn't make a lot of sense. But particularly for us, it does. We know that since we have such a young library, we have such a young community. Statistically speaking, those in their 20s and 30s, the Gen Z and the millennials, they have shown over again that they overwhelmingly prefer a. So the people who really like ebooks are those in their 50s. Those are our library So as much as we would like ebooks to solve our problems, they're not going to, they're important, but they're not going to take over the library anytime. Last year's door count 67,905. And what's interesting to know is not everybody in the library has a card. If you come into the library, a lot of people using the library, they're not checking out things. They're meetings. We have people that come into the library, they work all day, they bring their computer, they camp out at a table, and that's what they do. They meet with people. They're using copying, faxing. There's lots of, the building gets lots and lots of use, and that takes its toll. Last year, the cost for the building was $67,000 to maintain the building, which if you were doing the math, pretty much anytime someone walks through the door, it's $1 in terms of maintenance. This is up 20% over last year. And when we look through to see why is the cost so much, frankly, everything a lot more expensive, but repairs did not help. So these are above and beyond general maintenance. Those are repairs. For the most part, with a couple of exceptions of those, it was $100 here, $200 there. It really adds up in the end. Capital improvement plan. So last year we started 2 projects. We just are finishing up in this fiscal year, but they were started in fiscal year 22, the boiler. The other thing that we did was replace the light. We wanted to put in some energy efficient lighting. The goal of that was to try to save some costs in the long term, but really what it does, and this is why I love our new AV stuff, you could really see the difference. So it made a huge difference in the library. You can go back to the back corner, pick out a cookbook, and you can actually see the book when you're in the back corner before you get home, which was not always the case before. As you probably noticed a couple of weeks ago when Andy gave his report, the library does have a very rigorous capital improvement plan. We are systematically going through repairing and replacing items that need to be done. But of course, that is not going to solve the problem we have of this library is just very, very small physically for the size of Indianola, particularly a growing community the size of Indianola. Lots of statistics there. Library directors, we love our statistics. The annual report gives you more information that was in your packet. I hope you take a look at the last page where I threw in just for fun some of the things a lot of people don't think about the library that we have. You know, we have a seed library, we have a library of things where you check out all kinds of unusual things, cake cans and all of that kind of stuff. Happy to answer any questions.
Price on the ebooks. On
Ebooks are really, really, if you're buying them for yourself. But for libraries, the way the contract is, they're usually $100,000 each. Or excuse me, whoa, that would be about $100 each. And typically you only get 26 checks and they go away. Question?
Didn't know that, really.
Michelle, obviously, we're trying to help you guys get the library down the road. What you had programmed in the, maybe you hadn't thought about this, you had, I'm thinking you probably have, but in a newer library, if it gets built, how many books do you think you might end up with? That you mentioned 40,000 cap right now. Do you have any idea where you'd be in the future?
It would, you know, a lot of things would depend. So we do know we're about half the size of, in terms of physical items that our peers would be. So I think that would be probably about the bulk, try to double the holdings.
Okay. And if you're getting more people check that stuff out, that's maybe back to your question on ebooks too, you know. It's really fun. Thank you.
You guys make the best like ketchup and hot dog, like dress up
That was
bag.
pretty fun, yeah.
So those were great too.
Trick-or-treat was really fun.
In regards to donations that you guys take, something we should remind the community too. Do you take book donations as well as video game donations, stuff like that?
We actually don't typically take donations, and the reason is it's 100%. We have no place, if people bring in books, we have no place to keep them. We do sell in the library, but they are items that we are withdrawing from our own collection. And it's unfortunate. Some libraries make quite a bit of money on their books.
option for us.
You, as of you, over the last so many years since you've been here, the budget is always maintained. See negative balances, and that's not was before. So she not only has grown the library and the usage of things going on there, so kept it. So kudos to you and your staff.
That doesn't.
Staff is. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item. That is with Charlie and the downtown square reconstruction update.
Good evening. In case anybody hasn't noticed, the square is fully back. So wanted to provide a quick opportunity to just give an update on where we've progressed so far through these first few phases, what's coming next year, and just a quick update to come where we're at financially on the project. And I see you do all have pieces of the ribbon that was part of the ribbon cutting from a couple Fridays ago. So that is for you to take and display how you want. We'll get into the presentation here really quick. So just a quick refresher on how this project came about. And I think everybody here is going to remember this, but in September of 2018, Warren County voters did pass a bond referendum for a new Warren County Justice Center. Pretty much immediately after that, the city started taking a look at what we could possibly do to the square to kind of add on to, I guess, the aesthetics of the square and increasing that courthouse coming. So we partnered with the Iowa Economic Development Authority and did a downtown assessment. That group came down and identified a lot of key items that a city could do to enhance the square, one of which was to look at a streetscape project. After that, we worked for about a year with Bolton and Mink, and in August of 2019, the city council adopted the city square master plan. After that, in May of 2020, we started to move forward with designing a reconstruction project. And in April of 21, the city council did approve a construction contract with Absolute Concrete at a value of about $8.5 million. And then in June 2021, June of 2021, that project began. That project, the groundbreaking that did take place, just a few pictures that we have there on the screen from that event. Immediately after that, we started construction. I'm just going to kind of go through a bunch of pictures here that show the progression of how each of the 5 phases did take place. So we started with a traffic conversion from one-way to two-way on the square in both Buxton and Howard. We also added drive-through mail drop-off for the mailboxes at the post office. We changed the direction of traffic. We needed to provide an opportunity for that. So those are 2 things that took place. Each phase start obviously with the roads being taken out and then moving quickly into the infrastructure improvements. Wanted to just point out these few pictures here because this is right at the corner of Salem and B Street, and that is where all the stormwater does flow from the entire square to this point right here and then head south. So you'll see the infrastructure that's in the ground here is actually some of the biggest we have in the entire square because it is taking a lot of that water from the square. But again, continuing to kind of build out that stormwater infrastructure through these processes here. After the stormwater pipes went in, we then worked on water mains. For the most part, the water mains are in the alleys on the square, but there are some areas where there's water mains in the road, specifically on Salem Avenue. You can kind of see here the water mains being added in, fire hydrants being added in that. So as part of that process, there's connections that need to be made to those water mains. Those businesses that are currently on those old water mains got to get transferred over onto the new water mains. A lot of utility conflicts in the downtown area. Again, a downtown area that's about 100 years old, you're going to run into a lot of things. I think that picture there on the right kind of shows some of the stuff that we had to deal with some of those utility lines and then trying to kind of snake a water main underneath those just to avoid those conflicts. One of the interesting things, one of the historical features I think of the square were that there were 3 cisterns on each of the corners of the square. And as part of this project, we actually did abandon those because what they were intended for they were no longer needed. So the contractor was responsible for filling those cisterns with sand, but just provided a few pictures that were taken before those were filled right here to give you just some perspective on what those looked like. After the water main and storm sewer go in, we kind of start putting the road bed back together. As part of that, there's a lot of sub drains that have to go in. Those are for the pavers that go in. But you can kind of see the rock being added here. And again, those sub drains being put in on along the sides of the roads. After that, the rock chambers start going in for the pavers. That's the kind of store water. Those pavers are meant to store water in big storm events such as we had last Friday, and try to control some of that and keep it on site so it's not going into the storm sewer system. Once that's all put in, we start repaving the roads. And this was a couple of the blocks that we did on that, just some pictures from there, and then putting the curbs back in along those areas as well. Once that gets in, you can kind of put the pavers back in, and then we move to sidewalk construction. Wanted to kind of point out some of the things on the sidewalk construction here, because this was one of the key factors that caused a lot of delays last year that we were actually able to get around this year by planning ahead. But again, Historical Square, there's a lot of stuff that we were uncovering underneath the sidewalk. There's a few pictures I'll show you here. A lot of these were coal vaults that were underneath the sidewalk. Those coal vaults actually were used to power furnaces back in the day when they were fired by coal. And a lot of these holes that go into the building, there would just be holes there, and these coal drop by. They'd get coal dropped off essentially at their front door and put down these chutes to power their furnaces. So you'll see a few of those areas here that we just found a lot of holes in the ground. You know, for example, this one right here, this was outside of Indianola Glass Creation, and we actually had the sidewalk just sitting right on top of that void in the sidewalk there. Same thing on a lot of these. Again, had a lot of old stairwells that were no longer needed that we filled in. Had worked with the property owners to get those doors closed off on those buildings, and then able to kind of reestablish a sidewalk over top of that in a safe manner. But again, I'm going to go through a lot of pictures here, just showing all the holes we uncovered underneath the sidewalk that really took a little bit of extra TLC to put the sidewalk back on top of these once these were discovered. But again, once that was all taken care of, we were able to put the sidewalk back in. The picture on the left here kind of shows where we did a lot of things with the roof drains that we found on buildings. So we were able to actually connect those to those sub drains that were in the sidewalk. So those roof drains no longer are dumping onto the sidewalks in the winter, then obviously creating a nice event. So as we go throughout this project in the alleys, we'll continue to tie those roof drains in so we're not icing up the alleys and the sidewalks during that process. Just some of the decorative features that go in once we're all done between the sidewalks and the curb. You can see on the left here, that's just a tree grate where those trees goes in. The picture on the right is actually a rain guarded meant to store rainwater during heavy rain events. And then lastly, we got to a point where we're putting pavement marking down. The picture on the left actually was the morning that we opened up that first phase last year, which was December 30th. We all kind of laugh about this now, but you can see they're actually melting snow off the concrete so they can put pavement markings down, get that open. So we actually had a little bit of a snow event the night before and had to kind of get some of that stuff taken care of before we could open the road. And then pretty much the street side ended 2 Fridays ago here with the ribbon cutting event. And again, everybody's got a kind of piece of the ribbon, and we got some pictures up here from that event. And then just really quick, just where we're at financially on the project. Again, I mentioned earlier, it was an $8.5 million construction contract that we had. To date, we paid out $5.5 million of those funds, which is about 67% of the funds. That's really exactly where we expected to be at this point in time, knowing that we still do have alley construction left, but we're right on budget with those costs. We do have about $200,000 of additional costs from those construction costs. The two-way conversion it costs a little bit of money just in some pavement markings and what we had to do there. The street lights that we actually were not part of the contract. We bought those through IMU because we were able to get them a little bit cheaper. But those street lights that we did purchase were about $150,000 worth of that $200,000 cost there. And then just some street equipment as well. AP's crew just had to buy some extra equipment to maintain the pavers that are on the street. So we break those costs down. We do a breakdown into city costs. There's the SRF grant that we have, those costs, and then the utility costs. So of that 8.5 million, 6 million of those costs are city costs. And so far to date, we paid 4.3 million of that, which is about 72%. On the SRF costs, again, those are the DNR reimbursable grant. We have a $1.5 million worth of those. And so far to date, we paid out 818,000 of those. Our water utility, the IMU costs, there's $742,000 worth of work there. And to date, we paid out about $277,500 on that, which is about 37%. Sanitary sewer, we have not paid out any of those costs yet. And that is because all of the sanitary sewer on the square is within the alley. So there was nothing in the road, but that work will all be conquered next year. And then looking at total change orders to date, we've had 8 total change orders on the project, which is a total of $173,500. That is 3% of the total cost that we've paid to date. So that's well within our 5% contingency that we do have on the project. So what is next? Alley reconstruction, I mentioned that a few times. That will start possibly even late this year and then into next year. We're still kind of finalizing some plans with Absolute Concrete on that, exactly the means and methods that they're going to use. But that's going to kind of dictate when we do start on that. We are working, Community Development Department with the Downtown Square Commission is working on putting together a downtown facade grant program. And that is something that we wanted to roll out once the street side construction was finalized. So we are working through that and hope to have something to the council in January for final approval on that. And then as we move across the project, there's still a lot of punch list items, phases that still need to be completed. And we do have about $284,000 to date that we've gained from payment until those items are completed. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on the project, if there are any.
Charlie, if business owner on the square wanted to obviously apply for a grant for the facade, but is TIF available for that as well?
We are not using any TIF funds on it. That's something I think we can look at in the future, but council did budget, and I think it was $125,000 that we took out of the downtown fund on that, somewhere in that ballpark, but it's something that in the future we can start looking at.
We're using TIF funds to pay reference or the bond proceeds. This project.
Okay.
So that's what we're using.
Well, that was just one of the things they brought up at that big conference.
Yeah, and I think just, I guess, a sneak peek at the facade grant program. Again, we've got that $125,000. We're building that program so it is sustainable for the future, and then council can look at each year on earmarking some funds towards that. And I think it's just going to be a year by year basis. We're going to have to figure out where that funding comes from if we want to continue.
For that.
Charlie. Oh, sorry. Am I really loud?
Not your fault though.
I'll whisper.
There you go.
I just wanted to comment. I think it looks great. Also, and maybe you mentioned this and I missed it. Alleys are next. And then is there a plan for the finishes that we used to refer to as monuments, the archways and things?
Yep, that is built into the CIP that we're proposing with this next budget.
Okay, thank you.
Alleyways that finished.
It's the 4 alleyways behind the 4 blocks of the square. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I can explain it a little bit more.
No, it makes
We do have alleyways, south alley. Do we get Salem?
Yep.
Correct.
Yep. So and then the 2 parking lots as well as part of that. So the parking lot that is between Buxton and B Street, kind of behind where Brick House and the Chamber Building is there. That parking lot's going to be reconstructed. And then the one that is behind Uncommon Grounds as well, that parking lot is also going to be reconstructed.
Done good work, Charlie. A lot of time into. Appreciate
We
you.
have a lot of time right now.
I appreciate this, but I would like to have seen you finish.
Cut it all up, sorry. All right, thank you.
You. All right, our last item for study session is discussion regarding upcoming agenda items from within the regular November 7th, 2022 City Council. That will start at 7 p.m. We'll take a break until 7 PM. Start right back at 7. Thank you.
Okay.
Run a bathroom. Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Present.
Here.
Present.
Here. Richardson,
Present.
Mayor Erickson.
We'll move on to public comment. If you would come forward and state your name and address for the record. Here you have one form that I will read. I may actually go ahead and read it herself, so let Kathy do that.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Magruder of Page Turner's Bookstore, and I'm speaking on behalf of Indianola Downtown. Merchants. As you know, we've requested a street closure for December 10th, beginning at 2 p.m. in order to have adequate time set up for the Home for the Holidays event at 5 p.m. Downtown Commission has recommended a 3:30 p.m. street. In requesting 2 p.m., the Indianola Downtown Merchants carefully considered most square businesses close by 2 on Saturdays, with the exception of some of our restaurants. These businesses will be through or mostly through lunch. Closure will be well posted for late arriving customers to utilize the city lot. At our last event, it took over an hour to place the barriers. We know once the street closes, we need about 20-30 minutes to clear any stragglers. IPD tracks down the owner, requests the move, and then we tow at our cost nearby if necessary. Please also note that it is likely that guests will be arriving early for this particular event to ensure good viewing locations for the parade and to get in lines early for Santa and the rain and to shop. We do expect a large crowd and need to be ready so we appear organized and well run. We want our guests to return. This event has many moving parts, including at least 15 vendors who have applied to. We also have several food trucks, a crane, a horse-drawn wagon, large tree lighting, parade, Santa, music, shopping, a wreath auction, a gingerbread house contest, local nonprofit fundraising, decorations, fire barrels, hot air balloon candlestick glow, and a pictured backdrop station. There's simply no way we can set up for an event this large in 90 minutes. The alternative would be to cut back on what we have planned. Thank you for your consideration.
What else said? I need a first and second motion to approve the consent agenda. No discussion and some.
Good then.
Just a few highlights on this. Most of it is fairly standard. You have a sewer farm lease. Come up a little bit higher than we have in South sewer department. We also have a housekeeping item with recordation of authorization of the council, recordation of some easements and property disposition. Soft ball groomer, it's in here. A change order for the Boston project, so it's in here. Previously talked about included, and the purchase of some property. C Street. For you for your consideration.
Questions for Ben?
The only thing I would ask, maybe staff can put their item, and if I'm not mistaken, down the road here, get us a report on things that maybe sort of have liens of maybe over 500.
So that actually, thank you for bringing that up. It was for our attention. We did go to Warren County. See if we could get that information. It would take them a little bit of time. We're not sure if costs involved in that. But wanted to make sure before we sent the county down that path that a priority level And also,
Ask, what would the reasoning be? I'm just curious.
Well, John, I think let Ben or Charlie say something, but I think there's some properties that have significant amounts of money that they owe us that are on liens against those properties. So my thinking is that down the road, do we limit on that to start other kinds of processes with them, or do we let this continue just to slide if it's a yearly thing that we're getting continuing to spend money on those properties? Because
that's some really good insight, because we wanted to make sure we understood reasoning so we can provide you the.
I know that thinking this, if I'm not mistaken, we're also raising some of the costs and are in the consent agenda. If they're going to continue to force us to make those costs part of this process, that probably need to somewhere along the way say enough's enough.
Legally, what other things is there other steps you can take versus just liens or?
Yeah, once you identify a property as having a nuisance value, statute also deals with abandonment. And there are certain items we have to follow the strict guidelines of that statute. So the city can actually take titles in certain circumstances. Then that's how you recover your costs under the sale.
That's where I'm coming from.
Okay.
Ben, on the farmland, what's the total number of acres you have for lease? It's broke up in several different.
That's the Rick with it, wastewater plant. That's about 190 acres farmable land.
Thank you.
There were other people who responded. At least. I think there was three, correct, Rick? 3 people responded to lease for the farmland.
I sent it up to 5 different area farmers and I got 2 bids back.
Much for covering all.
There. Jackie?
Councilmember Parker,
Aye.
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
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 On the council capital crossroads steering update from council.
Just wanted to excited and honored to be on the steering committee for Capital Crossroads. Today I participated in sort of, or if any or everybody knows what that is, but Capital Crossroads is actually on one. They started Capital 1 in 2012, and then Capital Crossroads 2 was done in 2017. The title is for the Des Moines region next long-term vision and plan making. So what it is the library organization charged with implementing the planning and uniting the region's institutions and investments towards a shared goal of making a more region. So the big sort happened this last week. There was 2 options and I was able to attend the virtual option today. And in this phase, they're sensing trends and the impact of Central Iowa. And so they participated. It was kind of a game. It was online. They tried to make it interactive. And so there was an online spin that selected trend or something that would impact. And we had to discuss it a little bit further and the debate a little bit like certainty how something would happen, if it could happen, what the impact would be. So we're just in phase 1 right now, and then phase 2 happen in the future. I'll after the to share.
That's an impressive list of individuals on that steering committee. So
Really great discussions.
great. right, we will move on. I need a first and second motion on appointment of Megan Shipley to the Indianola Public Arts Commission for a term beginning immediately and ending July 1st, 2020.
Moved as read.
Again,
Discussion. I'll start by saying she is going to be an excellent. Call the roll.
Member Dalby,
Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
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 Hewlin. Aye.
Aye.
Mayor's report. It's been kind of a crazy past few weeks, and I'll start with some congratulations. Congratulations to the Indianola volleyball team and football team. Volleyball made state for the first time. Years. I'm not going to say the number because I'll get it wrong. Some congratulations to them. Unfortunately, they lost in the first round. And then football, the Indiana football team lost in the quarterfinals of the state playoff. And then a big congratulations to Amanda Zonswinger, who has been named the president of the Chamber of Commerce. We're very excited about her coming on board. We had a couple of ribbon cuttings for the Square, St. James Celebration Center. A couple restaurants that are opening this month, Soft Stuff in Charlotte's Kitchen. And then over the past 2 weeks, we had a couple other events happen. Mayor's Youth Council had an opportunity to go to Rouse's Cafe for breakfast and a little bit of tour and learn a little bit about running a restaurant. Library Trunk or Treat, congratulations to the Indianola Police Department, as well as Parks and Rec. Right, we were sandwiched in between them, so two of the best there. Parks and Rec threw a great Square costume party. Wine Witches and Brews was absolutely insane on the Square, and it was great to see all these thriving. And then Wada Cooper Properties, which is Terrace on North 9th Street. It's a 5+. Gave Steve, Ben, Charlie, and myself a tour. It is beautiful. And if you are looking for a nice apartment with good management, they are wonderful. I think you'll be very impressed when you tour. Upcoming, we have a couple events, Downtown Merchants meeting I have coming up, and then Home for the Holidays on December 10th. Mayor's Youth Council will be participating with a Whoville theme. Be doing write letters to Santa. We'll have a Grinch. What our buddy the elf wants to pass out. So it'll be a lot of fun, and I think that lots of people out to that.
It was one other thing, if I could mention, they were in the semifinals, the ARC conference. Had actually had a couple upsets that they actually moved on to the semi. Got beat in the semis, but
Move on to consideration and old business. I need a first and second motion on the first consideration of an ordinance regarding the use of fireworks by removing July 5th and modifying the allowable times for July 4th. And discussion.
I have still some issue. Did have a number of people sign a petition on that. But I'm really wafting. Like to kind of make it a unanimous decision if that's possible, at the same time. I also have to respect 600+ people. Fireworks and our veterans out there complain to me issues. I guess I need to have a little discussion. That'd be not, that's okay.
Add that also just the messaging that's also to have. I had voted before. I will go back to vote. Removing one of the days. Positive. I do share your concerns, but I don't intend to.
I think, and I understand your concerns. I understand the concern. We get names petition, but I do think though that focus needs to be more towards the legislature. I mean, it's getting dumped in our laps. And to be honest with you, it's our police forces that have to deal with that. And there really isn't, again, we're gonna go back to either you're gonna snitch on your neighbor or nothing's gonna. They're not gonna, for the most part, and as the police officers will tell you, really hard to catch them in the act, they're gonna be able to find them, but it's he said, she said, people are gonna have to go up and face their neighbor in court, and that's tough to do. And so I really think that trying to adjust it down, I'd have been okay with just July 4th, but in reality, I get it that biggest concern is the legislature changed it to sell them and have them in the state of Iowa. You know, Des Moines numbers were up all for service because of it. So, I mean, and they've had it banned for 2 years now. And I just think if we do that, all we're going to do is cause our police force to be even busier than they are on those days. So what I would also, citizens, please be respectful. You know, I mean, we're giving you this opportunity. And again, I'm coming from a guy that have not lit one legal yet, but I lit a lot of them illegally. So, you know, it's kind of weird, but for years we haven't put money in Missouri over the years. But anyway, I think until the legislature makes a decision on this, I think it's really hard for us to ban it and expect it to go away. You know, I think that's you know, and so I'm hoping that maybe a little bit of a give and take here. And, you know, I know like I said, I'd have been okay with just the one single day, July 4th and New Year's Eve and been done with it, but I'm okay with 2 days as well. Like I said, I hope our community be more respectful, you know. I will say in and around my neighborhood, I was very impressed with, for the most part, that time came, it all kind of quieted up, and I was surprised because previous year had not been that way. And now you do have the people that are doing it early and later. And I just, like I said, it would be nice if people would just obey the law and be respectful for that. So.
A good compromise, and I suspect we'll likely have this conversation annually. If, you know, if we cannot be respectful and end on time. So we're really putting it out to our citizens to be mindful. Then I think the issue that we come into with our officers is the state mandated legislative fine, or the fine that the legislature put out, which is high at $200, $250. Very high. Doesn't give us any leeway for our officers to give a smaller fine. But I do think that probably continue to have this.
And I'm sympathetic to the officers that have to write this. It's one of those things where if we can really force it, I think here, it'll get it into people's heads that, hey, follow the rules. Given the opportunity for 2 days now, do them on those 2 days and don't do it outside of that parameter, or you're gonna get that fine. I know if I got the ticket, I wouldn't be doing it again the next year, you know.
I think total ban would put a burden on our police department. We're going to light them off regardless. Just a fact, it's going to happen. The constituents that emailed me or called me, they were concerned with the length of these. No one I spoke to said they wanted a complete ban, because they still wanted people to enjoy the 4th of July. They were concerned with the length, and I think this is probably a good starting point. As we alluded to, it's probably a topic we'll have every year going forward.
I appreciate all that. John, your points are well made, and so is Ron, everybody else too. So I do hope if we'll go down this road, it's like, so, and I'll support it. But I just hope that we can give the police department an opportunity to review how they might go about actually being able to win something in court if they do issue that citation. That's the case, and I hope we don't have to issue it. But I think if staff would read that or whatever you can do to come up with plans or talk to some people that have had success with that in the past and cities, not to reinvent the wheel, but John's admission that fired off illegal fireworks one time, so right there.
We know. He's admitted it.
He's not the only one. He's not the only one. Right.
The family.
Thank you for the conversation. I appreciate it very much.
I just wanted to add, you guys are really cutting in and out. So if somebody has already said this, that's okay. But in regard to what John was saying about asking the community to respect, I think one of the main complaints I heard other than the observing the times was the cleanup. Have a good time, but clean it up. Don't leave it for someone else.
Jackie, would you?
Member Richard,
Aye.
Wheelan, Parker,
Aye.
Dalby,
Aye.
Stover,
Aye.
A discussion and direction regarding the placement of sidewalks and the Hillcrest reconstruction project. I passed out a report.
Council, this is AP Public Works Director. So recently we got a request from IMU to try and see if we can remove the sidewalk along the south side of Hillcrest Avenue. As you know, we are currently doing the design work. Schneider and Associates helping us with that. They are at the final completion stages of this design work, and the main concern IMU has, if the sidewalk is placed on the south side, then you're increasing the depth of water main pipes. But I've shown a map here which shows the sidewalk along the south side all the way from Hillcrest Avenue to McVay Trail. This concept has been submitted to the Iowa DOT. And before I go on to my next slides, I do want to point out that the current policy requires new sidewalks when the street is reconstructed, and there's additional fill required if you're changing it from a rural cross-section pavement to an urban cross-section with curb and gutter. And there's additional fill that is required irrespective of whether we are installing the sidewalk or not.
Have you been able to give this report to you so they can see the really depth that it's added? Okay, I didn't know if you were able to.
Right. Not yet. So we just got the report today. We have been, and thanks to Schneider and Associate on such a short notice, they completed that report to us. And the next 2 slides is a summary of the report that I have handed out to you.
That point though, we've expedited request from IMU to you so that we could get these design views locked down before or too quickly, because winter is coming. Sure that the design go out and.
And there's also the timeline with the easement acquisitions. Schneider and Associates is waiting on us to give us direction whether we do this sidewalk or not. Now, as a part of the study that Schneider completed, they have randomly selected 20 different locations to assess what kind of impact it will have if we do the sidewalk, not do the sidewalk. Before I go on the study any deeper, this is the diagram here shows you the cross section of the existing and the new pavement, where the dashed lines shows the existing ditch. And then if you do if you don't do the sidewalk, and that shows you the blue line where the new backfill will be if you don't do the sidewalk. And then if you do the sidewalk, what do you have as a black line shows you what the surface look when you do the sidewalk. And then the blue dot shows the existing water main. Now, a summary of the findings is that if you have 5 feet depth of water main, then with the sidewalk, you'll be basically burying the water main at 7.7 feet depth average. And if you don't do the sidewalk, you have a depth of 5.9 feet, which is basically an average of roughly 1.8 feet difference, whether you do the sidewalk, or not do the sidewalk. So in summary, the report shows that basically there's not much of a depth. And then we also, Snyder and Associates completed the cost estimate for savings. In terms of if you don't do the sidewalk, we'll have a savings of roughly $150,000. In the entire scheme of project, which is the total project cost is roughly $6.6 million, which includes the sidewalks and the engineering fees. There's the savings for the sidewalks is not significant in terms of trying to save the money there. But having said that, there's also not discussed with Snyder yet, but there's also the bid alternate that's needed. While I'm saying this, I know that Dave pointed out that currently we have a concept statement submitted to the Iowa DOT for sidewalks, recreation trails, 3-lane concepts. Any changes to that, we have to reapply with our concept statement. We don't think there will be any issues, but never know how much of lag, how much of a delay, because we don't know yet. We have never submitted something at this last minute, so with that, we need council direction whether to continue with the existing design, and that way we can start going on.
So one of the things to probably point out is when Lou brought this to us, we respectfully bring this as quickly as we possibly could to you for your. But on first brush look at it, concern was that IMU may need to have a track hoe and take care of water main repairs instead of a backhoe, which can significantly increase the cost of repairs. However, at only 9 feet deep, it is still within backhoe range. So I think Lou's biggest concern is actually being mitigated, and that's why when I read the report that was just that this really alleviated my fears. We are also at a very high level thinking this was a $400,000 savings, and it's actually less at a. So all that taken into consideration, and I think Lou's concerns are probably be addressed by the fact that backhoe changes my position somewhat.
So that, I mean, there will be points, there may be trench shoring that may be needed. These are average depths that's shown. There may be points that fluctuates.
Sure, a couple things to think about. The water main was constructed on the floor slope as well. So that's kind of a hard spot to set your, so we have not done potholing depths. Stuck every valve, so a lot of times the valves are at depth, but the water main can vary a little bit. So I mean, there's a little bit of variability here. Typically on those side slopes, because it's harder to work on that slope. So I'm not anticipating a 6 foot deep water main, probably closer to 5 or 4, and sometimes put them where you tell them. And it is tough work there. I think the other thing that we're thinking about is it's a larger water main. It's not uncommon it's a feeder main, not an 8-inch distribution main. It's a 12-inch feeder main. It's not super uncommon to see those a little bit deeper. They don't big facility. We also want to make sure that the fire hydrants are adjusted so that chief doesn't have to bring a 12-foot long valve. So we'll make sure that those are standard equipment on that stuff. I think that was in the plan already. There are a couple of valves on this feeder main. Look very carefully so that, again, who doesn't have to buy a 12-foot long. Look at that. That's typically part of our process. We're these individual details, and if we do some potholes at some areas that are suspect are deeper. I think that we can work through that.
I appreciate Lou bringing this to our attention to have us consider it and evaluate it more deeply. Appreciate EP and Snyder Associates for doing the analysis that can create some of the concerns and it's more surety and before you for your consideration.
You have a couple of questions. AP, can you revert back to that very first slide of the so left is Unity Point on the corner there, is that correct? Okay. And as I talked to you folks or emailed you, told you that I walked that entire stretch last Wednesday. I think the two properties, before you get to the Freeze property there's some significant drop off, if I'm not mistaken there. Are those going to be the deepest points then? Is that
Probably, yeah.
do we know where the main is at that point in time then? I mean, we talk about average here, but my only concern too is that now you're gonna be 15 or 20 feet down there because of that
Yeah, it
drop
won't
off
be
right
15
there.
or 20. That's not where there's a little bit of a shelf there.
You're just gonna add to that shelf is what you're doing, trying to fill that whole area. And then,
No, I think, there might be a couple that hard to get at because of the slope. that
Right.
we're building. Hard to get at now.
right. Kind of maybe a irrelevant question now, but how far back does that right of way go? Does it go all the way to the electrical poles that are there? Is that
It goes
part
50 feet, yeah.
50
And the
feet back?
Water main is showing up about 30. A little bit of,
And then what about Unity Point? We do not have a sidewalk driveway to area where that side there. Are they going to be required to put in their sidewalk? Are we putting that in or how's that work?
So the way it works is basically currently there's a sidewalk waiver, but we are not enforcing that sidewalk waiver because of the STP project where they're not assessing or requiring property owners to pay for the sidewalk. A significant chunk of that comes from the DOT project. So in order to do the assessments or going and having property owners, we'll have to make sure that we are following DOT regulations. So instead, what we are doing is we are not charging them for the easement acquisitions. So generally, we are required by DOT regulations to pay for easement acquisitions. On those cases where for Unity Point and there's several other properties where there's sidewalk waivers, we will not be charging them for the
But we'll be putting the sidewalks in. you're
Yes,
saying.
correct.
Giving them the sidewalk for this.
Yeah, right. I understand. Yeah. Yeah, because there's Miller Electric, I'm sure, and this place around North 9th.
There's multiple, I think I showed you the map on that,
You did.
where we have the waivers, but
But I just want to make sure that we're going to do it. We're going to go down that path all the way. Have spots where. Thank you.
I drove that stretch of road yesterday and maybe I'm wrong, but there's only one residential partial on the south side of the road.
There's a house at the back.
It's to the west of the Freeze property. It's way back.
I guess what I'm trying to get to is how often is this sidewalk really gonna be used, right? All the residential is on the north side. You may have some residential bike riders that come up from North 9th, but you cross the road right there and then get onto that north side. I understand, we're supposed to have sidewalks on both sides, but my concern is that $150,000 really gonna be put to good use? How often is that south side sidewalk actually going to be used? Those are just some concerns when I was driving that stretch of road. I know 150,000 may not be a lot of money, but we still need to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. And if it's a sidewalk that is going to be heavily used and they could easily get to the north side, something we should consider.
Person that was forced to put a sidewalk on the property, it says, why is the city not having to do this? We had, I don't disagree with you. I think you'll probably see more usage as this whole area starts to grow out, because there'll be some more through guessing as things develop, there'll be some more through streets and stuff. I bet you'll see more of it being used. But
Isn't it expected to be pedestrian?
no,
South of this area, there is a city park planned in the future. And if you,
South of where?
just south of where that farmhouse is, over to the west of Water Tank, there is a park in the Parks Master Plan planned out there. So connectivity trail is supposed to come out that direction, as well as so those folks out in Kading would come out around that direction as well. So it's all kind of weighing future growth versus
Even though it's park out there though, I guess my question would be is, Kading is already on the south side of the road. Once you get past Kading, there's not much residential.
which what you're gonna see is, because the Freeze's property is up for sale, so the developer buys that, puts some residential on back and maybe some commercial along the Long Hill Crest. I mean, I think you're gonna see some change.
Here's what my experience with being on the trail and doing things, taking the trail up to Hillcrest. Cross Hillcrest, because there's only sidewalk on the north side now. There's a lot of folks that will cross there, take the bike trail in up to 9th Street, back across the street, Miller Electric there to go south on 9th Street. And there's a lot of walkers and runners that do. So, and Ron, I certainly appreciate your perspective. I really do. I'm just kind of wondering though, if we're not kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. I came into the meeting tonight thinking, maybe we don't need this for $100,000. Then I got to thinking about this 9th Street issue. And I think a lot of people would come off the trail and go up the south side if there was a sidewalk there to 9th Street. And you also have Grit, Miller Electric, and all those places right there. And there are people that do walk to them, well, not to Miller, but to Grit.
No more.
Huh?
It's no more.
It's not there anymore.
It's a door company now.
Oh. Well, that takes that argument away.
What is fire?
Fire.
Fire properties?
point though is well taken, because one of the concerns I had is the potential delay. If we have a February letting, that potentially would save us a lot of money if we delay the project because we have to go DOT again, or if we have to get more time to develop these set of plans. That in itself could eat up that 150,000 by doing March letting, because projects are already taken by other contractors, and then all of a sudden bidding against the competitor.
Well, I wasn't aware of that park development. Sometime, sure.
Yeah.
You know how far out.
It's just in the visionary, we don't own any land or anything.
And wife and I been trying to walk almost every day at various times of the day, and we'll always run into somebody going one way or the other, up or 9th Street or down 9th Street. I mean, that's just their process. There's nothing on the south side to deal with.
That many.
I'm sure you have.
Are there sidewalks along North 9th?
It's intermittent because some of the land is not developed. As you get from Hillcrest on south to the Williams Terrace property, all sidewalk, and you now can cross over on the other side where the dating isn't. So you really do have sidewalk. Sides on different sides.
My opinion is we proceed as planned.
Get a vote on this?
It's just direction.
Just for correction.
I'm with John on this. Sorry, Steph.
No, I
agree.
I think it's gonna help too from when you come bike trail, where you cross Hillcrest to go the other side. There are some times where it's like, if someone coming, they can just stay on that same side of the street.
Well, there was one problem this summer as well, the undergrowth. Well, you guys took care of that and we appreciate that greatly, but at that intersection, look to the east, there was some small trees and things starting to grow in the right of way. Until those got taken out by IMU or the city that exactly. It was tough to see. I mean, couldn't see down the street. It was not a safe, it was a safety. I'm okay with moving forward with what we have. Thank you, AP.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate your comments. Hey, Dave.
Move on to new business. I need a first and second motion for the approval of a special event application for the Home for the Holidays from the Indianola Downtown Merchant.
The only question I have on this is, do we have an hours of operation? We've heard from representative of the merchants. When we want to, is this the closure of the street? Is this the,
Yes, the corner of the street.
and did I miss something on time on the,
Requested to close at 2 p.m.
Right.
The event starts at 5.
okay, that's what the resolution is asking for, 2 p.m. closure?
What their event application asked for, the Downtown Square Commission recommended.
Right. So we have
We
to,
just need direction.
And that is hard. They do have a lot going on. Mayor's Youth Council particularly has to put out those. prayers. So we're helping with those, and 2 would be them.
that's my question was, want to include that?
I'm kind of looking up. Are open. It does appear that most of them are closed at 2 p.m. With the exception of a restaurant, bars. But our stores too, really.
Say we need to make a motion to approve it at 2 o'clock.
The motion right now is to approve it at 2.
And the
So can I just, like I said, you guys are really cutting in and out. Maybe you've talked about this and I couldn't hear it. So the Square Commission is appointed by the council, correct? So we should, do we have time to go back to the Square Commission? Sorry, I can't hear anybody.
So, as I do not believe that we would have enough time, because I believe they meet once a month.
They meet on the 5th.
After watching the meeting, I'm not sure that we would get much of a different of a recommendation in regard to that. They were pretty set on their 3:30 time, but this is a big event and standing the stakes. As well. And it does give time to get those cars out too versus an hour and a half for start time.
We ran into a lot of that at that last, so giving them 2 o'clock. Especially if they have to move a bunch of cars. And then set up, it sounds like they're doing
Their
quite a,
expense.
one, it sounds like they're doing quite a few activities that
By changing that time, it sounds as maybe some activity can have to.
So Charlie, did you lead the meeting with the commission?
Yes, I did.
And what was their thinking on the 3:30 versus 2 o'clock?
I don't want to necessarily speak on their behalf, but I think the way I deciphered it was, they felt that 3 hours was a lot of time. And the application didn't necessarily explain all of the things that were necessary, why they needed the 2 o'clock closure.
Have you talked, did any restaurant owners participate in that discussion?
Yes. They're-
Okay, thank you.
I'm,
The current motion right now is for 2 p.m. Oh, 3:30, I'm sorry.
Well.
We
There
did
wasn't,
it.
there wasn't a specific.
did you make the motion?
Councilmember Dalby.
Yeah, I seconded.
So
Can I move to amend the motion to be 2 PM or does it have to?
Yeah, I would, I,
Second.
Okay, so there's no other questions, Jackie? Oh, and so this would be,
I
I
do.
apologize, we should clarify,
Yeah,
yes.
no, that's all right. And I'm not totally against it. I guess I just want to make sure that get an understanding, because it does affect 2, 4, 5, 4 businesses still, be restaurants.
I know one of them was at that meeting and was very much in favor.
I guess that would be my only concern, because it does, because as you mentioned, most all the other businesses, the retail businesses close at 2:00. And I'm okay with that. I guess my only concern is, how much does that affect Brick House or Groggy Dog or Pete's, if the people are in there eating and now they're gonna come in and get asked to move the car, there's just some awkwardness. I just think we need to figure out a way to make that work a little bit easier, because that is an awful long time. If you're going into a restaurant at 1:30, you're gonna probably be there an hour, maybe at the most. Same thing, you rolled in at 2.
And the
I just
cars
think we need to
can,
be cognizant a little bit.
sorry, Leslie, I keep looking at you. Is Kathy still here? The cars are not immediately towed, correct? And then until
Nicely
maybe
asked them.
3:30, I guess it'd probably make more sense if we knew when they're gonna tow them.
And some of those restaurants aren't open. Houses. All the way.
I'm guessing that the road closure portion of it is more so to block more additional cars from parking during that time. So we're
Right.
just blocking off those vehicles that are in there will still be able to exit.
Right, yeah, no, I understand that, okay. I just, like I said, I get it, and I just want to make sure, Right. Do we put up signs notifying ahead of time, like a couple days in advance, so that when I know we do, because I made signs, but I want to make sure that's the case, so.
You guys need more signs? John Parker can help you out with that.
There, they've
Right.
gone. They parked past a sign that says streets closed too, so they've knowingly parked
Yeah,
there knowing.
okay, all right, okay, yep, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to add to, I understand the need to close them earlier, and I really don't personally, have an issue one way or the other. My point is that we appointed the Downtown Square Commission to handle things like this and make recommendations. And now we would be going against their recommendation. So why would they make recommendations in the future, and what would their purpose be?
Well, I think we've gone along with our recommendation in the past. I think it's also she came and spoke tonight about some additional things that are going to be happening that day, which Charlie said that they, at that meeting for the Downtown Commission, weren't aware of how much was really going into that event. So I think it's our responsibility to then, listen to those additional items and make alterations as needed.
And it was a really healthy and long vision at Downtown Commission meeting. I believe it was about an hour and a half of a conversation, and it did go back and forth split. Restaurant owner, business owner, food trucks are there all the time, was very in support of it. And then there's others that have some concerns as well too, but I think it's gonna bring a lot of people together. It's gonna be a great event for our community. We want to make it easy. So you guys want to continue, the merchants group want to continue to do great events that help the whole
Wine,
community.
witches, and brew. I mean, that record-setting numbers. Oh. Oops.
Yeah, I don't want this to be understood that I don't support the downtown merchants and all the activities. I think they're wonderful. I just think it's principle here. If there was that long a discussion and it took them that long to decide, I mean, I think, Christina, you have very valid points too. We have more information. I'm just not sure the best thing to do.
And I don't disagree with you there, but I will tell you this, in my time of being on here, we've also done the same thing with planning and zoning. I mean, there are times where that while you do take those recommendations and to be honest with you, they do get upset. I had the chair of who was very good friends with at that time. And we had a very tense conversation the next day after we went a different direction, and he was pretty unhappy because they also, same thing. It was controversial and spent a bunch of time. Not that this is controversial, but I mean, it is, there are some difference of opinion. So I think if anything, I mean, as long as the message gets back to, hey, we still appreciate what you're doing. I don't want that to go back that oh, we're just going to ignore everything that you say. But I do think that sometimes as an elected body, we sometimes have to make those decisions.
Well, and absolutely, I appreciate what both parties are doing.
Africa. Staff's opinion, but sometimes. The direction.
That was
That's funny.
a split decision, is that correct, if I'm mistaken? Was it, hey, Charlie, was it a split?
It was
decision?
really long.
It was unanimous on the vote. The discussion, I think, was pretty split.
And I would recommend it. All right, so the motion we have on the table right now is for the event to set up at 2 p.m. The event will go from 5 to 9 and then dismantled by 10 p.m. If there's no more discussion, we'll go ahead and have Jackie call the roll. Anybody has anything? Gwen, do you have anything else?
No, I just want to make sure you said the motion on the table now is to close streets at 2 o'clock. Is that correct?
Close at 2 p.m. Motion
Yes,
on the
thanks. Okay, thanks.
right, Jackie?
Councilmember Schroeder,
Nay.
Richardson,
Aye.
Lynn,
Aye.
Elby.
Aye.
And the approval of the special event application will close the streets at 2 p.m. We'll move on. I need a first and second motion on a resolution approving the memorandum of understanding for the Greater Des Moines Fair Play Agreement.
Move it, Red.
Thank you. Second. Charlie?
Really quick summary on this one. There's actually from the agreement here. What this does, I'll just give an example. If we had a business in town here that was looking to move to, let's say, Ankeny, what this agreement does, since Ankeny is a part of it, would require Ankeny then to inform the city and inform the business that you need to first work with your current city to try to come up with a resolution there to keep you in that city before they go through a formal process of looking at possible incentives to relocate them. Vice versa, same thing. And if we had a business from Urbandale, for example, that wanted to come to Indianola, we'd have to tell that person, you need to work with the city of Urbandale first before we start incentives, anything like that the city may offer. So I think this just does a really good job of protecting the city of Indianola and also the other cities.
There a cost with the agreement?
Nope.
Seems crazy. Let's say Casey's wanted to move to Indianola, why would we want to? No, stay in Ankeny.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's not saying that we can't have them come down here, but we just.
You're not gonna go.
It sets up a process to where essentially you don't work behind the scenes to get Casey's to Indianola without Ankeny knowing about it first.
Often see this when you have two neighboring communities and they're on the kitchen sink at where they're just using one community to try to leverage a better deal with another. Creates more fair play.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, it may be more beneficial to the bigger cities than the small.
Boy, Ankeny, Des Moines, Urbandale, and Waukegan, the first signers of it. I did not go unnoticed by you.
I think it plays if we had a major employer and this isn't happening. I'll say this for the record. It's not happening, but if Cementech were want to go to Ankeny, that Ankeny would have to notify us so we could, it does kind of help protect us so we can keep our.
But it also limits us for fighting for, those things to come our direction.
And again, it doesn't say that we can't negotiate with those people. It
And
just says that,
initiate.
yeah, we have to at least let the other cities know. The other cities have to be aware that we're.
I think a great example is Windsor Window, West Des Moines Park. There was a lot of back and forth, if I remember correctly, but between West Des Moines and Park about whether or not West Des Moines could provide the land was required, and some of they were kind of locked, if I'm not mistaken, in a very small and I think there was a lot of back and forth, but I think it was amenable to both sides of. But I think we're kind of crazy if we don't do this. I think it's one of those things where, you know, there's a lot of opportunities out there, poach off of somebody else, and that's really what it's all about. Absolutely, and cooperation.
It stops the cannibalization. Do I think that it's more of a benefit for Ankeny, Des Moines, Urban, Milwaukee? Yeah. But I do think it's, to me, it's, my guess is everybody in the Des Moines metro area will be part of this, and it's, they've been talking about this for a long time, and it does make sense from the standpoint of, I think, what was it, remember, if you go back in the legislature, you might have even been in the legislature when Von Maur, they had that big deal over in Coralville. And I think even in West Des Moines, they were having some issues too. And so I think there's some of those where the people will use each other against them. And so I think it doesn't mean that we couldn't gain business from somebody, you know, somebody from, well, I mean, we just had an electrical business move in from Altoona. You know, we didn't go out searching for them. They came to Indianola. And so it just keeps that. If they'd have come to us and said, hey, we want to know what you're going to give us if we come to your community, then Charlie would say, you know what, I've got to contact Clive right now and make sure that you're not using this as playing off of that. I think that helps all of us in the metro. So again, I will make note of that. Like when you said that.
All right, thanks, Charlie. Who would you call the roll?
Councilmember Hewlin? Aye. Parker?
Aye.
Bobby?
Aye.
Whitaker?
Aye.
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 Moving on, I need a second motion on a resolution approving the purchase of a canine patrol vehicle for the police department.
Second.
And discussion.
We know that Lieutenant Hawkins as well, but we know that the police department is doing a fantastic job trying to raise funds for a canine unit. They've raised almost $20,000 to date with grants and with donations from the community. And I've never seen a department harder to try to raise funds. I've never seen a chief in a dog outfit or
Trick or treat it that way too.
Yeah, I saw.
In the dog.
So more power to them and the dedication that the entire department has towards providing this opportunity and service to our community. It was presented during that initial push to get the council's blessing on this, that there was a vehicle included in that. Anticipated that vehicle would take much longer to drive than it actually did, and quickly. So we didn't want to not have the council come along with this decision-making process. This was covered by the fact that your blessing.
Mayor, council, Lieutenant Hawkins, with the police department, the Tahoe did come in much earlier than anticipated. We were told probably 6 months. It took about 90 days to get it, so it came in about 90 days sooner. We were kind of expecting a mid-February arrival, so we got lucky. Ours have been taken. Our Fords that are coming state contract for our normal patrol rotation are taking 9 months. So the supply chain issue is still a real thing for fleet. So we got really lucky. So we still have some costs that will be going with the vehicle. There'll be a camera system and computer system in the car that I'm guessing that'll be around $60,000. We'll have the actual outfit of the vehicle, special. But temperature controlled set, hot and pop for the doors opening. Just some extra things that we don't normally equip, obviously, our patrols with. So I don't have an exact number cost yet. This actually, I think, benefits us, the vehicle coming in sooner, because the equipment ordered now, as we know, prices keep going up. But honestly, I look at this as an advantage for the
Price too.
yeah, I'm open to any questions.
The life cycle of this vehicle.
Undetermined, but I will tell you that it'll be a one-user vehicle. The canine handler one operating the vehicle, so gonna have less time on the road. Probably a lot easier life than our normal patrol vehicles, because those are on the road almost 24/7, stop and go, city driving. Patrol vehicle for the canine handler will actually probably see less of that, extending its life. Fleet experience.
You going to Chevy and
We go back to Ford after that.
That was strictly a size issue. And to be honest with you, we're actually kind of looking to see how this vehicle will perform on our city streets, because we have a lot of tight spaces in the city that explorers are able to get into. We have concerns that the Tahoe may not be able to get into. So we're going to be kind of seeing how this vehicle performs as a patrol vehicle. We've never had one, but it is larger than Explorer, which could create some space issues. So whomever the canine handler is going to have to learn how to drive a bigger vehicle in some of our smaller streets. West Boston as an example, or some of the alleys that we have that are tight Explorer. So Tahoe, they're probably make some decisions on if they're going to go down a particular street or
Will it be a take-home vehicle then? They'll take it home since the dog lives with
I would just ask, and I know we've asked some of our local auto dealers part bids and things. I would just ask, maybe we continue to ask some of our local folks too to take a look at the state bid process and see if it works for them. I mean, I'd just like to do local if we can, but I certainly understand this. I'm not criticizing. Let's continue to ask.
I would echo those comments. I understand the procedure, but I do really want to promote local.
Okay, I'm gonna be an idiot. What's hot and pop?
well, it's just the
That is you, not
control.
me.
So
And I
it
ask afterwards.
full running side gets too warm. Dog out.
Automatically.
I got you. Cool.
Just protection of our newest officer.
There you go.
Right.
Clarification.
Appreciate it. Jackie?
Aye.
Aye.
Parker,
Right. Aye.
Schroeder,
Aye.
Aye. City managers report.
Don't have a heck of a lot to report tonight, but first, I just want to thank our great staff. I thought presentations tonight during the study session and shows the professionalism of every single one of our departments and the hard work they're doing tonight, and the rest of our departments who are working so well. Tomorrow is election day. Just make sure to exercise responsibility. And with that, right, was given to us by veterans day this week, and so we want to thank our veterans for their service and for providing us the opportunity to vote as well. We mentioned several of the local teams. Rugby team, fourth in state.
Right, there we go.
Girls rugby team. Ray Hackett was kind enough to allow her to participate to the extent that she several well, they call them tries, they don't call them touchdowns. Lots of tackles to the point there people are questioning the bruises all over her body. She would beat me up before.
And money on Jessica too.
Yep. Probably to also let the council know, there is a new sheriff's advisory committee that's coming through dispatch, and the mayor himself are both participating along with Chief Scheer on that as well, to just elevate the review of purchases being made, these to ensure that benefit the county, and trying to elevate that process and participation in that as well. So some local participating and representing. I did speak with a local business today about the shirt order and shirts for our staff as well. So you'll see an email coming out about that soon. Try to improve the brand and image and look US with great shirts and the way they look, and we appreciate them setting the example. Also, I do have an appointment set up with the director of the opera. Well, just wanted, and a lot of great things are happening in the background. Questions the council has?
But I do have a comment. Thank you very much to the IT staff. This is, wow, they did have their little quirks at the beginning because it's technology. It is
Yeah.
awesome. It is being able to have the monitors, although if we can figure out a way to get pretty good glare that I can't, but I'm sure that it doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna find glare in somebody's seat. So that's fine. I'll deal with it. But no, thank you. It's awesome. And Gwen, you sound phenomenal, by the way. Voice from heaven here, so.
Well, that's because I'm an angel, John. But I can't really hear you, so we'll have to work on that little bug. I get it out loud.
Okay, well, if that's it, I need a motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Iowa Code 21.51J to discuss the purchase of a sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price the governmental body would have to pay for the property to reduce the price the governmental body would receive for that property.
Moved as read.
Second.
All right, and Jackie?
Councilmember Dalby?
Aye.
Burr?
Aye.
Leach? Hewlin? Parker?
Aye.
Right.
Short break.
We will take about a minute break.
You'll stay on now with the new.